Coco Gauff just won the French Open and thought that was going to be the biggest moment of her life. Then, an Italian billionaire named Giovanni Moretti called her out of nowhere and made an offer that left her sobbing uncontrollably in front of her entire team. What he proposed to her parents wasn't just generous, it was life-altering, in ways that go beyond any tennis trophy she'll ever win.
But she found a way. Here she's giving her mother a hug, her mom, who was praying on TV, then her dad, Corey.
Have you ever had a moment where someone's generosity completely overwhelmed you? Share your story in the comments below. Let's get into what just happened, because this is one of those rare stories where reality sounds more unbelievable than fiction. Coco Gauff had just won the French Open, which is already a massive achievement and the kind of thing most athletes spend their entire careers chasing. She was holding the trophy, doing all the media obligations, and processing the fact that she had conquered Roland Garros after the disappointment of what happened at Wimbledon. Life was good, career was on track, everything seemed perfect. Then her manager burst into the room looking like he'd seen a ghost and told her she needed to take a call immediately. The person on the other end was Giovanni Moretti, an Italian billionaire who's known for owning private islands, running massive business operations, and having a genuine love for tennis. This wasn't some random rich guy trying to buy his way into relevance. Moretti had been following Coco's career for years and admired not just her talent, but her character, her resilience, and most importantly, the family bond that had gotten her to where she is. He didn't waste time with small talk or congratulations beyond the basics. He got straight to what he actually wanted to discuss. Moretti asked Coco a simple question that immediately changed the tone of the conversation. "How is your family?" That one sentence hit different because it showed he understood something most people don't see when they watch athletes compete. Behind every champion is a support system that sacrificed everything to make those dreams possible. Coco's parents, Corey and Candy, had spent years working multiple jobs, stretching every dollar, and putting their own needs last so their daughter could chase her tennis dreams. Coco tried to keep her composure and said they were doing okay, which is what you say when you don't want to burden anyone with the full truth. But Moretti wasn't asking out of polite curiosity. He was asking because he was about to make an offer that would fundamentally change their lives. He told Coco he wanted to offer her parents positions within his company as personal development consultants. They would travel with her, support her career, and help with sports initiatives he was launching. Then he dropped the number, $200,000 per month. Each. The world stopped for Coco in that moment. She couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. Tears started forming immediately. This wasn't about tennis anymore. This wasn't about trophies or rankings or sponsorships. This was about her parents never having to struggle again. This was about years of sacrifice finally being recognized and rewarded in a way that actually mattered. She pressed her hand over her mouth, trying to process what she'd just heard, and all she could manage to whisper was that she didn't know what to say. Moretti responded with something that made the whole thing even more powerful. He told her to say nothing, that she had given joy to millions through her tennis, and now he wanted to give something back by ensuring her parents had the comfort they deserved. That's when Coco completely broke down. These weren't tears of sadness or stress. These were tears of relief, gratitude, and overwhelming emotion about what this meant for the people who had given her everything.
Today was the first time I've ever seen my dad cry. He doesn't want me to tell you all that, but he got caught in 4K. You know, he thinks he's so hard, but you know, it's not. So thank you guys. I mean, you believed in me from the beginning. I've been coming to this tournament. My dad took me to this tournament, sitting right there watching Venus and Serena compete. So it's really incredible to be on this stage. You know, growing up, you know, there wasn't too many just black tennis players dominating the sport. It was literally, I mean, at that time when I was younger, it was just them that I can remember. And obviously more came because of their legacy, so it made the dream more believable. But all the things that they had to go through, they made it easier for someone like me.
To understand why this hit so hard, you need to know the full story of what Coco's parents went through. The public sees the glamorous side of professional tennis. The stadiums, the sponsorships, the celebrity fans, the magazine covers. What they don't see is the years of financial struggle that came before any of that. Coco's parents worked waiting tables, doing housekeeping, coaching whenever they could find clients, and constantly juggling bills and travel expenses for junior tournaments. There were times when they skipped meals so Coco could eat properly before matches. There were months when they lived paycheck to paycheck while trying to fund her development.
Dad, Candy, Corey, congrats. We saw you closing your eyes for some of this match. When your daughter steps up to that line, serve for her second major, where are your thoughts going?
First, get your serve in and make sure that you stay under control, and that as long as you have another point, you have another chance. And just don't get upset if someone makes a shot. So it's like you have another point, so let's go out and play. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask where your thoughts were going. I'm going to ask where you were going. You don't watch it from out there. Where were you? How'd you experience this?
I kind of move around behind the scenes. I try to find a quiet corner and look at it on my iPad, and then I make notes. And sometimes I'm texting her and texting the coaches if I see something I think they can't see.
Even after Coco became a global name and started making money from tennis, her parents continued working regular jobs. That wasn't because they needed to financially at that point. It was because of pride, humility, and not wanting to rely solely on their daughter's income. They had spent their whole lives working and couldn't just flip a switch and stop even when circumstances changed. Coco had said multiple times in interviews that her parents work harder than anyone she knows, and you could hear the weight in her voice when she talked about it.
Quite understandably, I see your emotional tears in your eyes still. What did today represent?
It represents, like Coco alluded to before, that sometimes when you have a loss and you get down on yourself, but learning that you can pick up, the sun will rise the next day, and just keep working at your craft. If this is your passion, you got to give it your all. And what Coco did today was amazing. She never gave up. She fought to the end, and she gave herself the opportunity to hold up the trophy.
That pressure became part of what drove Coco. Watching her parents struggle financially was a silent motivator that pushed her into extra practice sessions and kept her going when she felt like quitting. After her Wimbledon loss, which emotionally shattered her confidence, she told herself that she couldn't let her family down and that she had to keep fighting because their sacrifices couldn't be for nothing. That pain and pressure became the fuel that carried her to the French Open title. She was playing not just for herself, but for the people who had given up everything to get her there. When Moretti made the offer, all of that history came flooding back. This wasn't just about money or a job opportunity. This was about her parents finally being able to breathe after years of holding everything together through sheer willpower and determination. Coco's team watched her sob during that phone call, and they realized they were witnessing something far more significant than a business deal. This was a daughter's dream of taking care of her parents coming true in a way she never could have imagined. After she got off the phone, Coco had to tell her parents what just happened. They were in the next room assuming she was just overwhelmed by media pressure or the emotion of winning a Grand Slam. Instead, she walked in with red eyes and trembling hands, fell into their arms, and whispered that they didn't have to work anymore because someone wanted to take care of them. Her mother started crying first. Her father, who's normally stoic and composed, slowly sat down completely speechless. This wasn't about the dollar amount. This was about finally being released from decades of financial stress and sacrifice. The broader context of this story makes it even more powerful. Athletes talk all the time about wanting to take care of their families, and many of them do through contracts and endorsements. But there's something different about an outside benefactor recognizing the sacrifice of parents and stepping in to honor that in such a direct way. Moretti didn't have to do this. He's a billionaire with infinite other ways to spend his money, but he saw something in Coco's family story that resonated with him, and he decided to act on it in a way that would fundamentally change their lives. The amount itself is staggering when you actually break it down. $200,000 per month each means Coco's parents are now making $400,000 combined every single month. That's $4.8 million per year. For people who spent years working multiple jobs just to make ends meet, that kind of financial security is literally life-changing. They'll never have to worry about bills again. They'll never have to skip meals or stress about travel expenses or wonder how they're going to afford the next tournament. That burden is completely gone. But beyond the financial aspect, there's the emotional and psychological relief this provides. Coco had been carrying the weight of wanting to repay her parents for everything they'd done, and that pressure was affecting her mentally even if she didn't always talk about it publicly. After her Wimbledon loss, she admitted that the expectations and pressure had gotten to her. Part of that pressure was self-imposed, because she felt like she owed it to her family to succeed. Now that her parents are financially secure, that specific pressure is gone. She can play with the freedom of someone who's already accomplished what she set out to do for her family. Her coach noticed the difference immediately. He said that before, Coco played with the heart of someone trying to change her family's life. Now she plays with the joy of someone who already has. That shift in mindset is going to make her even more dangerous as a competitor because she's not playing from a place of desperation or obligation anymore. She's playing because she loves the sport and wants to win for herself, which is a much healthier and more sustainable motivation for long-term success. Coco herself summed it up perfectly when she said that now that her parents are taken care of, she feels unstoppable. That's not arrogance or cockiness. That's genuine confidence that comes from having one of the biggest sources of stress in her life completely eliminated. She's 20 years old with 2 Grand Slam titles, financial security for her family, and a future that's wide open. The possibilities are endless, and she doesn't have to carry the weight of her parents' sacrifice anymore because that sacrifice has finally been honored and rewarded in the most meaningful way possible. This story is bigger than tennis because it's really about family, sacrifice, and what happens when those sacrifices get recognized. How many athletes have parents who gave up everything so their kids could chase dreams? How many families struggle financially for years, hoping that the investment will pay off someday? Coco's story is unique because of how dramatically things changed with one phone call. But the underlying themes are universal. Parents sacrifice for their children, and children carry that weight whether they talk about it or not. The fact that this happened right after Coco won the French Open makes it even more powerful narratively. She had just achieved one of her biggest career goals, and then immediately received news that her parents would never have to struggle again. Those 2 moments happening back to back created this perfect storm of emotion that explains why she broke down the way she did. It wasn't just one big moment, it was 2 life-changing events happening within hours of each other. Giovanni Moretti deserves credit for how he approached this too. He could have made a big public spectacle out of it, held a press conference, made sure everyone knew what a generous guy he was. Instead, he made a private phone call and offered to help in a way that genuinely mattered. The story got out eventually because Coco talked about it in interviews, but Moretti's initial approach was discreet and respectful. That suggests his motivations were pure rather than being about publicity or ego. The positions he created for Coco's parents as personal development consultants are also meaningful because they're not charity. They're actual roles that allow Corey and Candy to contribute and feel like they're earning what they're receiving rather than just accepting a handout. That distinction matters psychologically because it allows them to maintain their dignity and sense of purpose while also being financially secure. They're not retiring and disappearing. They're transitioning into roles that support their daughter's career in new ways. This whole situation also changes the dynamic of Coco's career going forward. She's no longer playing with the desperation of someone trying to lift her family out of financial struggle. She can make decisions based purely on what's best for her tennis and her health, rather than feeling obligated to play every tournament or accept every endorsement because the money matters so much. That freedom is going to show up in her performance because she'll be able to prioritize rest, training, and long-term development over short-term financial gains. Coco Gauff's French Open victory was incredible. But what Giovanni Moretti did for her family might end up being even more significant in terms of how it changes her career and life. This is what happens when generosity meets genuine need, and the result is something that goes way beyond money. Hit that like button and subscribe because we're covering the real human stories that make sports matter beyond just who wins and loses.